and I'm going to leave you to it, Brittany. Wish you all the best.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John. Thank you, Moat, for putting on this awesome conference. Man, looking at Eric's templates and everything he shared, it's just so awesome to be able to learn from people and amazing educators all over. So thank you for having me and for hosting this conference. I know that the instructional technology team in Northwest, along with a lot of our teachers, have definitely jumped on the Moat boat. When I was first introduced to Moat, I thought, oh, okay, like it adds audio to Google items. That's awesome. But what we have found is in the hands of really creative educators, Moat can be game changer in all aspects of learning. So I listed a few things to the side here, but student creativity and voice, oral admin, giving feedback, so many ways that we have used Moat. So you're going to notice I will give a few shout outs to teachers along the way as we go through these 7 tips and ideas for using Moat. And hopefully some of them are really simple, but hopefully everybody has a little takeaway here. So number 1, in its simplest form, Moat can be used for audio supports. So this sounds so simple, but just to show how teachers can kind of clone themselves with Moat, a 2nd grade teacher, Miss Goodman, at one of my campuses, like all teachers, is very busy in the classroom, and she had to pull a small group of students. And so she was like, I need students to be able to go through these slides and be more self-sufficient. So they were able to listen to her instructions as they went through the slides, and her students knew as soon as they saw that purple speaker icon that they could hear the teacher's directions and move forward. The other example, this is a 3rd grade teacher who is going to be out with a guest educator. And so, whenever you're not in your classroom, it's hard to deliver the exact instructions and direction that you need to. And so she didn't want to make a video, but she wanted her voice to be right there in her slides. And so Moat was perfect for that. And her and her team have used that when they have guest educators ever since then. So if you've been on MoteCon, this is probably nothing new to you, but you will see the Moat recorder in slides. So simply to add or to clone yourself on a slide, you would open up that Moat recorder, and you'd have 3 minutes with the premium version, 1.5 minutes, I'm pretty sure, if you're not. And you can add several Moats to a slide, which allowed these teachers to clone themselves and provide students some great direction. So very, very simple, but man, it has been really helpful for our teachers to have audio supports. Let's go on to number 2. This is one of my favorite. It's making writing personal. So I'm not sure if you're able to hear this 3rd grade student's voice, so I went ahead and quoted her out, but I am going to play it in case you're able to hear her. But she kind of talks about making writing personal here. Again, I'm not sure if you could hear her sweet voice, but she says, I really love being able to add my voice captions. I really like Moat. So Moat allowed this students and many others to make their writing personal. So I want to share a few examples. The example to the left is a 4th grade student in Miss McFarland's class. She said, if you can get all of your nonfiction writing, all the good content there, I'll let you make your book an audiobook. So this not only allowed the student to personalize his book, it allowed him to practice his fluency, to be creative, and he even can catch some grammatical errors as he's reading his writing aloud, like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I need to change that. Our ELA coaches remind me that literacy content is about reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So I think about how Moat really helps with the listening and speaking aspects of literacy. So this 3rd grade example over here, these are nonfiction animal research projects. And what they have done, which I thought was super fun and creative, is a lot of them have changed the Moat icon. So you can see the giraffe here on this screen to speak. So rather than having that purple speaker icon, the giraffe would speak and share 3 facts about giraffes, or there would be a camel that's speaking. This image, I'll give you these slides at the end, actually links to a blog post if you want to read more about what these students have done and some creative ways that they've used Moat. The students have kind of shared what they love here. So feel free to go back and look at that if you want to. I'm going to demo how they changed that icon to be an animal and just some other ideas. But I also thought I would put this other digital library example while we're on the literacy screen. This is a 4th grade class in Miss Herrera's class, and they made kind of a digital library of books. And I thought it was just so cool how they could walk through and show people different aspects of the library and have that audio there. So just another cool way that this was used for reading and literacy. So let's see how students changed that icon. So once again, they're going to open up the Moat recorder. I was a high school English teacher actually when I started. Now I work with elementary kids. But I think about Henry David Thoreau. So I don't have a great Henry David Thoreau voice for you, but I'll share a quote and we'll change this to a Henry David Thoreau picture. How vain it is to sit and write when you have not stood up to live. Going to add their Moat. And then you'll notice in order to change the icon here, you're going to right click, replace image. And then I actually already have a picture of Henry David Thoreau on my desktop, but they could search the web. They could add any picture they wanted to here. And I could think of a lot of uses here. I'm like, man, writing from another person's perspective. Maybe they're going to write and they're going to use a book character or somebody from history. So a lot of different ways they could use this to be creative. Eric Kurtz actually put out a great Halloween template where students could decorate a pumpkin and then have that pumpkin speak. So many different ways Moat can be used for literacy. All right, we're hanging in there and moving on to number 3. Selfies for name attribution and also just for student ownership of their Moat. So shout out to Esther Park. I loved following her on Twitter during COVID, but she actually came up with this tug of war template, so I cannot take credit. However, I shared this template in a PLC, and Miss Sweezy, a 4th grade teacher, decided she was going to use this with her class for persuasion because they were really working on taking a stance. So she put up the statement, 4-leaf clovers are lucky, and the students all had to create a Moat and add it to this slide. Not only did they have to agree or disagree, but then they would move their Moat along the continuum of how much they agreed or disagreed with the statement. She also wanted them to change the Moat icon to be their selfie, 1, to take ownership of their voice, and 2, so that she could see who was speaking and play some of those Moats for the class. So you can see, just a reminder, they changed that by right-clicking, replace image, and then we're one-to-one Chromebooks in Northwest, but it's just so easy to take a quick selfie right there and doesn't take hardly any time at all. So since my video is being used, you'll see this GIF here, but it just brings up the camera, take a quick selfie, and then all of a sudden you get to own your voice in that Moat. All right, number 4, which is a really good follow-up after that collaborative slide that we just viewed, and that's home space and arrow keys. This sounds so simple, but it seems game changer to me, especially for littles, I feel like, but really for everybody. I use this tip. When you've got a bunch of people adding Moats to a slide, sometimes it could get confusing which purple speaker is yours, especially before you change the picture if you're going to. So as soon as the Moat comes on the screen, I like to tell the kids to use the arrow keys and put the Moat in a home. So these home spaces, it could be circles around the slide, but allow you to have a spot for your Moat so that you're not duplicating or having yours on top of somebody else's. This example here was from a professional development session this summer, and you can see there are circles for homes, but it also allowed us to break up responses. So teachers would leave a takeaway, like, what did you get most out of this session? But we were able to categorize them, K-5, 6-12 teachers, and other. I could see how you could use this for different book clubs, different student groups. So feel free to use a template like this. You can steal it from this slide when you get these slides. And we'll just show from those arrow keys, as soon as you add a Moat, it will be selected like this one here. And then I can just use my arrow keys to put the Moat where I want it to go. And then I could change the image if I wanted to. So if you're doing collaborative slides, I thought those arrow keys were a really good, just simple tip. Number 5, justify or explain thinking. We're hanging out in slides here for these first 5, and then we'll move out of slides. And we've shown a lot of literacy examples. So I wanted to show how some math and science teachers have used Moat. On the left, this is Miss Crane, a 3rd grade teacher. Miss Turner is also a 3rd grade teacher, but they were doing some eco column projects, and they document all of their research in slides. So while they were taking their digital notes, she also had them voice in and explain the steps that they were seeing and the changes over time of their eco columns. So that was a really good practice for them to talk about what was changing. And you can see they changed the picture here, or their Moat icon, to be the picture of their eco column. The other math example, my husband's a math teacher, as John mentioned at the beginning, but I know that it's not okay for a student just to get the right answer, but they need to explain why they got the right answer. And Moat was really helpful with that for these students in Miss Turner's class. So they would solve the problem, get the answer, and whether it was in slides that they solved the problem or on a hard copy, in slides, they would add the Moat justifying their thinking and talking about the steps that they took to get the right answer. So I thought that was really cool. All right, we are heading into number 6, and this is one of my favorites. It's QR codes for a personal touch. We led a lot of PD this summer on Moat, and even at the end of last spring, we called it Holy Guacamole. So one way that I liked to start the summer sessions was I had my daughter actually record a Moat. I think Jason, when he did a pre-conference session, called it emotional blackmail, because when you hear a sweet kid's voice, you're like, you just melt. But what was neat was for them to see the difference between just saying welcome and having that student voice. So whether it's a teacher hearing the student's voice or a student hearing the teacher's voice, it just showed how personal that could be. So once again, I'm not sure if you can hear this super well, but you'll notice, I'll go ahead and play it. And it's also transcribed. So we're going to look at this when we look at feedback, how you can transcribe these Moats. But this was how my daughter welcomed them into the session. So that was just cool. And it just kind of previewed the power of that personal voice. I also want to give a shout out to my amazing teammate, Kelly Sanders. She heard about QR codes and thought, wow, this would be an amazing teacher appreciation gift. So she actually had her students tell their teachers all the different things that they loved about them. And then she put those in a Moat and then printed them off and put them in these flower bouquets. And I know even since then, our team has just used this kind of like giving Moats to each other to make somebody's day. Goes a lot further than sometimes just a little sticky note or a card. So that was a clever idea. And then also, as an instructional technologist, on the right here, you'll see after leading professional development or leading little sessions, I would like to leave a little Moat for everybody in attendance, either talking about an idea that they have that I loved, or just encouraging them, or maybe even just offering some follow-up support. And so the Moat of Affirmation template made this really easy, and you could use this for your students, or if you're a leader, you could use this for teachers on your campus. But I'm going to go ahead and open it, and then you can go back and grab this template if you want it for yourself. Click Use Template. And outside of slides, you can actually use this extension, the Moat extension. You'll want to make sure and get that and pin it if you don't have it already. But the QR codes are really easy to save. So I would come in here and leave my Moat. Okay, so this is just a test here. And then notice that I can share any of my Moats as a QR code. It will download really quickly to my computer. And then I love this template because I can just pull it into the space. And then I could give this a title. So maybe if this was Daffy Duck, I could go ahead and print those off and just pull in the QR codes for different students. So it makes it really easy to leave Moats of Affirmation. All right, and then I went ahead and left a video. Nicole Reynolds had some awesome ideas for doing QR codes a while back as well. So you can definitely go back and learn some more new tricks for QR codes if you get the chance. And then number 7, the last tip we have for today of using Moat. I'm sure we could have had like 15, but we'll share feedback as the last one. So I really like the quote that Moat had on the Moat loops, which I want to explore Moat loops even more. But this quote was really great. It said, if a paper is returned with both a grade and a comment, many students will pay attention to the grade and ignore the comment. And it just kind of reiterates the importance of feedback. So getting a grade is great, but that doesn't really help the learning process. And so that feedback is what really helps the learning process. And I feel like if students get to hear a teacher's voice, it will make the feedback so much more meaningful. Comments, I feel like, are the best way to lead feedback. And that could be in a doc, it could be in a sheet, it could be in slides. But whenever you go to comment here, you will see Moat show up. And notice, I'm going to take a peek here in my settings. I've enabled voice to text, so that's going to transcribe my Mote. They could also choose that language they wanted to use. And then if I was going to speak math language, like 2 + 2 = 4, STEM mode would then not spell out TWO, but it would put the number 2. So that's awesome, especially if you're leaving feedback as a math teacher as well. So if I was going to leave feedback on this student's work, I really love the words that you used, and your transition words really helped the flow of this paragraph. So then the student gets to hear the teacher. I think it's a lot faster to leave voice feedback too than typing it in, but then it also will transcribe it here. So that's one example. And another example that we'll look at, this is a template for peer feedback. One of my teachers used this, and there's several different ways that you could do it. So you can get the template here. You could use it just for a single student slide where they're going to write on their slide. And then we talked about providing a home. So there's a home for a grow and a glow Mote. So the student could talk about something that they did well and something they want to work on. That would totally work. Or you could have this set up as collaborative slides like this example is going to show. There's a video that would walk you through step by step if you want to use this. But students would write on one day, and then the next day, a peer would either claim a slide, or if as the teacher you wanted to assign everybody a peer, they would come in and leave a grow and a glow for their student that they're paired up with. And as a teacher, you know, this would be really great. I feel like if you're writing rough drafts and just getting thoughts out there, because teachers don't have time necessarily to read and grade everything, but students work harder when they know that they're working for an audience. So if they knew that a peer was going to look in and give them a grow and a glow, and the teacher was going to give them the final grade, it's extra eyes, an extra audience, and it's giving students the skill of learning how to give feedback, which is really important as well. And I also just put in a little link to this feedback masterclass. I think Greg put this out, but I thought it was really helpful and just kind of a good way to define feedback. So I will link that in. And I think it's Paul, has a feedback MoteCon session that I'm excited to check out as well. So yay, we got through 7 tips and ideas for using Mote, some of them simple. Hopefully you've been inspired by some of the ways teachers have used Mote in our district. Other Mote loves that didn't make the top 7, but totally could have, are using Mote in Google Forms for oral accommodations. So you'll notice when you open up a form, you can record each individual question, and you can even add, have that transcript there as well. I know some of our teachers used to record full text in like a video where the student would have to pause, and this allows them to just listen to each question as they need it at their own time. They can re-listen to it. So very helpful. In fact, I think this is how a bunch of our teachers bought into Mote when we first purchased it as a district. And then I also love Hypermotes, which is adding Motes to a Google Doc. So I think this is really great for even hyperlinking in instructions. Maybe you're going to send a Mote template out through your learning platform, whether that's Google Classroom or Canvas. But then if students got to hear instructions before just diving in, that's helpful. We actually just made some tables when we were leading professional development this summer where teachers could do leave a Mote saying questions that they still had, something that they learned, and then a takeaway. So that was really neat as well. And then another Mote love is the Mote Learning Hub, which sounds like it's going to be the Mote Learning Zone, which is cool, but so many great templates that have been shared in our PLCs. So that's definitely another Mote love as well. So as we start kind of wrapping up, I do want to give just a few shout outs to the amazing teachers who've inspired these slides. The NISD IT team for continual inspiration. I work with absolutely the best team, and they have so many great ideas. For Kelly and her teacher appreciation idea, that tug of war template, Mote feedback loops, which I can't wait to explore, and the masterclass, and then of course our fun gifts that came from Giphy today. So I'm excited to see if we have any questions pop up. I haven't seen the chat as we're going through, but you can access all of these slides at tinyurl.com/Mote7. And I know John said that this recording will be up too, but if you want to get into those slides and click around and see some of the examples, you can definitely access it at this website.